as Africa's economies grow over 5%, as Africa invests in infrastructure, Africans locally and abroad are wanting to play their part. So South Africa may well lose many of its high-level skills to other African countries in this context, as many foreign direct investment projects in energy and mining, transport and telecos get underway across the continent. Discussing recruitment trends in Africa is Annelize van Rensburg, who's the founder and director of Talent Africa. Annelize, thanks so much for your time. So let's start off with South Africans or Africans on the continent seeing massive opportunities across the continent. Has that started to happen? Have people started to say, you know what, Africa's my oyster, I don't need to be looking for a job in London or New York, I can do it on the continent?
Most definitely. I think that there's an understanding that the economies in Europe and the US are suffering. And because they're not growing, people are starting to look at companies that are growing. And the African economies are growing. Even though they start from a low base, they are still growing, and there's many opportunities for South Africans and other Africans alike to move around in Africa.
What about the diaspora? Because we know that a lot of Africans live in the United States and in Europe. A lot of them are able to send money back home in dollars and in euros, and people need that money for remittances. So what's happening at the diaspora level?
There are people returning to South Africa, even to the larger parts of Africa, because there's a lot of Africans that got study bursaries to go and study abroad, and many of them are returning and bringing those skills with them. So Africa actually are benefiting from this whole world economy that's suffering. So people are coming, and a lot of South Africans, upon return, contact us and say, I'm happy to be deployed into Africa.
Let's talk about that talent pool, because obviously South Africa has a great talent reservoir, as people call it, from the diaspora, domestically, people who have engineering skills, medical skills, financial services skills. Is this the nucleus? Is this the country that's feeding a lot of the skills deficits on the continent?
Most definitely. South Africa is still the hub, and they are feeding from South Africa, unfortunately to our detriment. But definitely South Africa is feeding into Africa, but South Africa is also bringing Africans into South Africa when we are starting to run out of skills.
Where else is there a talent reservoir? We're told countries like Zimbabwe are also providing a lot of skills. Nigerians are highly educated.
Definitely. And that's a wake-up call for South Africa, because I think our education system has been suffering, and a lot of the people in our neighboring countries and up more north have put a lot of effort into education. So definitely Zimbabwe and Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, those are the countries, even Uganda, that are putting a lot of effort into education, and they are going to feed Africa more so than South Africa in the near future.
We know that Nigeria is probably the fastest growing economy because it's just got that population size, it's got the GDP, national output levels, and so a lot of money, investments is flowing into Nigeria. Is that also the concentration of where the skills are being recruited, or are there other African countries where people are preferring to go, needing to go?
I think it's a combination. Definitely Nigeria is working itself up to become the hub, and it's definitely becoming the hub in North Africa, more so than just South Africa in the south. But I think there's other countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda that are really working their best to attract foreign investors, multinationals. But at this stage we see that most people, or most multinationals, have a hub in South Africa and then a hub in Nigeria.
South Africa, we know there have been issues around making labor laws more flexible, and we know that there's lots of regulation in terms of getting people from abroad working in the country. You're told of 8 months, a year at a time, even to get a work permit for some people.
Absolutely, and that's a wake-up call for the South African government, because they're happy to bring in a flat-screen TV, but when it comes to skilled people, there's this reluctance to give them jobs. And South Africa does need people that have specific skills. We cannot provide in every single factor of the economy, so we have to bring in people, and it's making it extremely difficult. And that is why multinationals are looking at countries like Nigeria, which makes it so easy for expats to gain entry into the country. Multinationals also don't have to comply to BEE legislation. So it's over and above just the regulatory of getting expats their permits to come and work here. There's also the BEE legislation that is a issue.
And affirmative action as well. South Africa's got a huge skills problem at the moment, and it also has a huge unemployment problem at the moment. So we need to attract and recruit the talent, but we also need to ensure that locals are hired. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for this economy. In the midst of slowed growth, in the midst of this huge unemployment rate, are we going to see South African authorities doing things any differently? Because locals will argue, what about us? Why don't you look after our interests first?
Definitely, but you can't employ a person in a job he's not trained to do. And that's why multinationals, and I saw one of the German manufacturers, motor manufacturers, has now come out and say we need to invest in training technical people to work on our vehicles. So more and more foreign multinationals are going to come out and say, if you want us to employ locals, then come into a partnership with us and let's form a new technical college or some kind of educational institute where we can actually train people that we can employ afterwards, because you cannot supply enough people at this stage, especially with technology becoming so much more advanced. It is just really impossible to employ all the unschooled South Africans that's out there.
Let's talk about the money, because somebody's not going to leave their job in Hong Kong to work in South Africa if they're not going to be remunerated properly. So I know these are multinationals and they do have some sort of a methodology on calculating attractive expat wages, but in general, the affordability of this exercise.
Well, that's why a lot of South Africans are leaving for abroad, because they need to be compensated similarly to what they can earn overseas. And there's a lot of issues and a lot of news articles about our local top executives being overpaid, and it's not true. They have to be paid similar to what they can earn in the global market, because they are global players. And our good people, talented people, will always find jobs, or jobs will find them, as you can put it that way. So South Africa has to realize, if we want to retain our skilled, highly skilled executives, we need to pay similar packages to what they can earn abroad.